I didn't realize the ugliness that's gonna come along. And you know the worst part? We never ever talked about it. Come on up. Hi everyone, say hi to Pepper. This is my little Pepper. Isn't she beautiful? I love her. Anyway, I wanted to come here and just share with you my story. Today I will actually be telling you about the trauma that started everything. Why am I choosing to tell you about my trauma? Well, I think in order for anything the decisions that I made, that I have made, the choices that I chose, and how I handled certain situations will make more sense by sharing my past. I feel like that would kind of help make it be more understandable. I don't know, I just feel like it's a good place to start. Really quick before I continue, hey everyone, my name is Marijune. Welcome to my channel. When I was 17, my mom's husband then attempted to violate me. I am so grateful because he was unsuccessful. I was able to escape with just minor scratches. I had bruising around my neck. I had some bruising around my temple and bruising around my wrist. But aside from that, I wasn't hurt. I was okay. Just want to make sure I say that. That was not my trauma. As traumatic as that was, and as much as I wish that it had never happened, that was not my trauma. My trauma came afterwards. So, my mom's husband was arrested. When I escaped, I ran to my friend's house, called the cops. My mom was working at the time. She came home and she took care of me. And so the police took him away and we were able to return back to our house. My mom proceeded to take me and my brothers out of our house for other safety reasons, I believe. She took us to her friend's house and we stayed there for a few days. And I remember feeling free. I remember feeling just safe, like he was in jail and I was with my family, my mom and my two brothers, and I was with people that I trusted. And I was okay. Now this man, my mom and him had been married for 2 years already when this had happened, and I really trusted him. I saw him as my father figure, or not my father figure, I guess. I saw him as my father. I even called him dad, and he gave me no reason to, you know, distrust him. I never felt scared. I never felt worried, or, you know, I fully trusted the man. I really felt that he cared for me and my family, and I felt the same way. I cared for him as well, and I saw how he took care of my mom, and I saw how he would play with my brothers and play with me, and I really felt he was a genuinely nice guy. However, something snapped and something happened, and after this event happened, I never talked to him about it. I didn't want to have anything to do with him, obviously. So I don't know what came over him. So when my mom took us to her friend's house, like I said, I felt really good. I felt safe. I felt like I didn't have to worry. And my mom had continued to communicate with him, and he had told my mom that since he's gonna, he was bailed out of jail by his siblings, and that we should move into the house because my mom had my brothers and I, and that just made sense, which I was grateful for because I was really excited to be back in my own home, to be in my own room, and to sleep in my own bed, and I was really grateful for that. So fast forward, I don't know, months, I guess, we went on our business. I started going to school, and I remember changing schools because I didn't want him to know. I basically wanted to escape his knowledge. Like, I didn't want him to know where I was. Just in the case that he tried to go after me or whatever, I decided to move schools. This was my senior year. I was going into my senior year. So everything was great. I was really happy. And then one day my mom had sat me and my brothers down and told me that he was very ill. She told me and my brothers that his sisters weren't taking care of him and that he is basically left alone all day by himself. He doesn't have anybody feeding him. He doesn't have anybody basically caring for him, and that he's practically dying. And I remember thinking, as my mom was telling us this, feeling like, so what? Why are you telling me this? I don't really care. And then she told me that he was moving back home. And I immediately reacted, shocked. And I asked her, why? Why would you let him come back here? He tried to hurt me. And my mom told me that he was still her husband and that she had an obligation to take care of him. And I argued and I said, no, I don't want him here. I made comments or, scenarios such as, what if he's like undressing me with his eyes? What if he tries to do something? And my mom told me, he's not gonna hurt you. He can't hurt you. He's dying. What was I supposed to say to that? How could I have not made that happen? One thing that I think I need to explain is the culture. I was born in the Philippines, and the culture in the Philippines is quite different. In the Philippines, the parents and the grandparents, they're always right. Children are meant to be seen, not heard. If you argue, or if you disobey, or if you talk back to your parents, you're considered a bad child. And I'm sure that applies here as well. In other countries, I get it. I will just say that it was much stricter then. I also saw my mom cower towards my grandmother as a full-grown woman with a family and children of her own. So I saw the impact of that. I saw that culture. And besides, I was 17. What was I gonna do? Was I gonna move out of the house? I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't really know what to do. So he moved back in. And I remember I didn't want to get out of my room for the longest time. Like I only would go outside of my room only when absolutely necessary. Well, one of the worst parts was he was quite ill. He was very weak, and he became very fragile. And because he couldn't move a whole lot, he basically stayed in one spot pretty much the entire day until it was time to go to sleep at night. And the spot of his choice was our living room couch, which meant that he was outside, out in the living area, out in the living space all day. And to get out of my room to get to the kitchen, I had to pass him every time, because it's not like the couch was on the other side of the wall. It was literally up against the wall that separated the kitchen and the living room. And it was, if I was to walk out of my room and turn right, the couch was right there. And then if I proceed straight and made a left again, that's the kitchen. And I remember trying really hard to be small. I tried really hard to not to be seen, but I was still, even though I tried to pretend or tried to feel like I was unseen, I still felt like he was looking at me. I still felt like his eyes were on me. And I would try not to make eye contact because I didn't want to know. And I just had to do it. Eventually, after time went on, I started to feel a lot less uncomfortable. Like, I still didn't want to have anything to do with him, but then there was nothing I can do, so I just had to deal with it, and I had to find a way to just kind of cope with it. So I did. Fast forward to like the end of my senior year, my boyfriend at the time, excuse me. My boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, he and I were going to prom. And I designed this dress. I used to love to design my own dresses and my own outfits. So I designed this dress, and my mom was a seamstress, and she made it for me. And it was a mermaid dress with shiny blue sequins, sparkly sequins, aqua blue and blue. It was really, really pretty. I mean, this was in the early 90s, so mermaid dress. But it fit me like a glove, and I felt so good and so pretty in it. And although I have really fond memories of that night, one of the memories that I wish I didn't remember was how my mom asked me to show him my dress while I was wearing it. And I remember feeling like, I don't know, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And she didn't like put a knife to my head or anything like that, but I felt really forced, and so I did. And I showed him my dress. I spun around once just to do what my mom told me to do, and she was so proud. I remember her being so proud. And I couldn't get out of that room fast enough. And as soon as I was done, I ran into my room and I took my dress off. And hated it. I hated that she made me do that. And then graduation day came. Of course, I was happy. I had my aunts from New York visiting, and I was so excited. And I was in my cap and gown, and she made me take pictures with him. And I can't remember when exactly it was that I asked her, why are you having me do this? And she told me that she wanted the rest of his life to be, since he was dying, she wanted it to be pleasant for him. I don't remember how I reacted, but I remember being very mad, because great, you know, if she wants to make the rest of his life pleasant, why does it have to be? Why do I have to take part in that? So that was really hard. And then he died. Was I sad he died? Not really. You know, it was like finally, I'm officially like separated from him. I don't have to worry about him. So we had a funeral service, and I remember feeling like, God, I had to fake cry, because here I am with a room full of people who had no idea what happened to me, thinking this guy was great, which he was until, and I had to put up a show, and that was really hard. How could I cry over someone who tried to hurt me? So what I did was I went back to the memories of when we first met him, and my mom and him got married, and we first started living together, and I just remembered the good part of him, and I mourned that. And even that took a lot out of me. So finally, when the service was done, again, another like relief of like, yes, I don't have to do this anymore. Now we had families from California, from different states come to offer their condolences. I mean, I didn't really care. It was my mom, and I remember her crying, and the night of the service, my boyfriend and I had plans to go out with a bunch of friends to go see a movie, and I believe it was a Star Wars movie. God, I can't remember which one it was, but it had just come out, and it's just like so exciting. And after the service was done, I was just like, okay, yes, I'm finally free. I can finally just like be happy and move on with my life, and I don't have to think about it. And as I was walking out the door, my mom was currently sitting on the couch with another family member of ours from California, and she was crying, and she asked me where I was going. And I told her I'm going out to the movies, and she couldn't understand why I was leaving. And I told her, Ma, you know, we've got plans. And she was telling me, he just died. How could you like leave? And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I recall kind of basically arguing like, I don't want to be here. And then she told me that if I were to walk out that door, to never come back. I was shocked. How could my mother tell me that? How could she threaten me like that? I walked out. I walked out the door, but I didn't get very far. And my boyfriend, he was so sweet. He decided not to go to the movies with everybody. His best friend was not happy with him, but it's another story. Anyway, I walked back in and I went in my room and I cried. I cried because I hated that my mom had a hold on me like that. And I hated that it's like what happened to me never happened. It's also very common for ugly situations to never be talked about, to be swept under the rug because of the judgment that will come along. And there's a part of me that understood that, and we didn't have to tell anybody, but why did I have to pretend that he was this great man? Why did I have to show that I mourned him? Why did I have to pretend like I cared? And I was just really devastated. And that was my trauma. I didn't realize that was my trauma. I didn't realize that how much of an effect that had on me. I didn't realize the ugliness that's going to come along. And you know the worst part? We never ever talked about it. I didn't go to counseling. I didn't see a therapist. I didn't know that was a thing. And she never checked up on me. She never asked me how I was doing. It was one of those things that she really needed to put behind and never think of again. In the meantime, there is me, stuck in my own pain, dealing with this whole thing by myself. A young girl who had full trust on her mother and let her down. It was really sad. I've forgiven my mom since then. It took many, many years, and it haunted me for many, many, many years. But I had to forgive her as part of my recovery. And she's still alive, and for the longest time she continued to be a trigger. But thankfully, after so many therapy sessions and other ugly events that occurred later that taught me more lessons, I was able to forgive her. Now I know some people will think, gosh, she was a horrible mother. The only thing I can say about that is she has her own trauma too. And she's my mother. I believe that she didn't intend to put me aside that way. I think it's just what she knew. It's just how she knew how to handle the situation. And is that her fault? Well, you know, yes and no. I feel like she should have known better, but at the same time, how could you know better if you've never been taught to think for yourself and to, you know, anyway. So that's my trauma. Sorry, I just got a call. So fast forward, after all that happened, my husband and I, my boyfriend and I got engaged, we got married, and I moved out. And then it was like everything had never happened. Until it started. Yeah, I never had to think about it again. But little did I know, it was gonna have its own way of coming back to me. And that's a whole nother story. I know sometimes as a mother, we have certain obligations, and that's what it was for my mom, is that she had an obligation as a wife. And I think I finally came to understand what her motivation was as far as like the obligation thing was concerned. And there's a part of me that can now understand. So I guess for all you mothers out there, talk to your daughters, your sons, especially when something bad happens. Because even when they act like they're okay, even though when they act like everything is normal and they act like nothing fazed them, that's not necessarily the case. And I, being as a mother myself, I had to learn that. So if there's anything that I would like to take away from this situation and to pass on to you, is to just talk to your children. For those that already have a very open relationship and, you know, a wonderful communication with their children, that's awesome. That's so awesome. But if you don't, and, you know, I'm in my 50s, and in our generation, I feel like, you know, talking about issues like that, that wasn't a norm. It wasn't a thing. So talk to your children. So that's it. That's my trauma. I do believe that we all have suffered from some form of trauma, one way or another. Some are worse than others, and I'm not trying to minimize any of them at all, because I think they all affect us in some shape or form. And if you have gone through trauma, talk to somebody. Talk to a therapist. Talk to your pastor. Talk to an old friend. Don't try to keep it to yourself. It gets really, really lonely. And it's a really good start towards the direction of healing. That's all that I have for today. If you'd like to hear more of my story, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you here in my next video. Until then, have a good day. Say bye, Pepper. Pepper's so tired. Pepper was asleep on my lap. Aww.